If you've been playing games, you know that a lot of them have multiple characters you can play as. It's really cool because choosing a different character might mean being able to play the game in a different way. Today, I wanted to go over how to create a basic character selection screen. I'll quickly go over my asset creation process and show you guys how I set up the UI inside Godot. Our characters are going to be scene-based, which means we will have a scene defined for each of our characters. And then we're going to take a look at how clicking a button is going to load in our chosen character into our game. Let's get started. Alright, so let's create a new scene so we can throw our buttons in. I'm going to hit this plus button, and then I'm going to hit the user interface to create a green scene. And this top level, I'm just going to call it character selection screen. I'm going to hit Control A, and I'm going to add a texture button. How about I use a HBox container? HBox container. I'm not going to use it just yet. This texture button, I'm going to do button slime. I'm going to duplicate the button slime. Control D, 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 and then I'm going to go call this button monster, button mushroom, and button trash. Okay. And then this one right here, I'm going to save it into my prototype folder. You can save it wherever you want. Button slime. I'm going to expand this, open up the texture, and I need to look for my asset, which is right here, character selection PNG. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to select the Atlas texture, expand that, then throw this in, edit the region, and let me grab just this right here. Nice. I'm actually going to copy this. Go over to the button monster, paste that, button mushroom, paste this, button trash, paste this. Whoa. Just shrink this, shrink the bounding box for this one as well. Now I'm going to grab all 4 of these and I'm going to throw them into the HBox container. You're going to notice that it's going to space them out evenly for me. I went over to the HBox container, made sure that I minimized the bounding box for that, and now it looks like all of these buttons are in place. So the nicest thing I can do about green nodes is I can use the anchor preset to maybe anchor it to the center of the screen. And the reason this works is because the control node right here is being currently defined by this bounding box. So it'll center it up to the bounding box of the parent above it. Now let's add a texture to each of these buttons. I'm going to hit Control A, texture rect. And I'm just going to leave it as texture rect. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to do Atlas texture right here as well. Expand that, throw this inside. And now I'm just going to grab the right icon. The first one is going to be slime. I'm going to minimize it. And then I'm going to hit the anchor preset for the center. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. This right here, I'm going to break the link. I'm going to open it, edit region. go to Anchor Presets, and then hit Center. This right here, I'm going to break the link again, Edit Region. This time I'm going to grab the mushroom. And then for the trash, break the link, expand, Edit Region, grab just the trash, close it out, make sure that it's scaled properly, and then anchor it. Sweet. So now I'm going to run the scene just to see what it looks like. I think it looks pretty good. Obviously the buttons don't really work, but in terms of what it looks like, I do like it. So I'm going to add a little bit more flair, close that out. I'm going to go back over to this. I'm going to take a look at this. What is it that I'm looking for? I'm looking for layout just to see how big this is. It's 32 by 32. Gotcha. So I'm going to create control nodes in here. Control A, Control. And I'm just going to throw these buttons in. Whoa. Go over to layout. I want to make these minimum 32 by 32. Control. I should have done this before I duplicated. Control 32 by 32. Control 32 by 32. Sweet. And then I'm going to throw these buttons inside. Alrighty. Inside here, I'm just going to make sure that I'm centered up on it. Okay, so now the control, the button is in the same spot. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I want to throw in one of the scripts that I created for my buttons. It's my button script. Now that all the button scripts have been added, when I run it, I get a nice little hover. And when I mouse over it, it'll just expand. So you guys can check out my button video if you want to see that. It's a little bit dated. It's my first video, but it makes things look pretty nice. Okay, so the next thing I want to do and the last thing I want to do before moving on to the player is I want to make sure that these buttons are going to do something. We can't do everything yet, but let's at least shoot us over to the craft screen, which is where I want to spawn my player. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to have to add a script here so that I can connect some signals. Right here. I'm just making sure that it's in the folder that I want. Create that. And now I'm going to go and hit the button, go over to signals, pressed, and connect it to the location that I want, which is this top node right here. And I'm going to go through each of these buttons and make sure that I connect all these signals. And this one as well. And now the last thing we're going to do is just transition over. So get tree dot create dot change scene to file. And then what is this craft screen? V1. And I already know that there's going to be an issue if I double click these buttons too fast. So I'm going to do var transitioning bool equals false. If transitioning, if not transitioning, then we're going to run it. And we're going to set transitioning to true. So how this is going to work is when we're in this scene, it's going to basically run and transitioning is going to be false, right? Which means that as soon as we click one of these buttons, it's going to be set to true, which means that the next time we click this again, we're not going to be able to run this part. So it's just going to prevent you from being able to click twice. Okay, so now I run it, And I'm gonna try to spam click this. So yeah, it didn't crash. It looked very funny, but it didn't crash. So good, good, good. All right, so I have this player scene right here, and I use it in a bunch of different places in my game. You can see this craft screen right here. I have it right here. And so as soon as you create a scene, you're able to put it into another scene by using this button right here, Instantiate Child Scene. And I can show you that player v1 no cam is right here. If I click it, it'll create another one. That makes a lot of sense. And as soon as I throw it into my scene, I want to reference it. And you can see it's referenced right here, which means that I can use it wherever I want. I can call functions, I can change variables. You have to reference it, and it has to be of this class. So just showing you how I do this, I do control, click, drag, and it'll throw this in for me, just like that. So double clicking this, running control F, I can see that I have 3 places in this script where I reference this player. I call a function from it, and I also change a variable. The whole reason I'm showing you this is because I want to swap out the player without breaking any of the functionality in any of my scripts anywhere that this player is in. I don't want to change the code that I already have. I just want to make sure that the character screen that I'm implementing is going to be able to leverage all of this code without me having to rewrite all of this. Alright, so let's find the player that we already have. Player v1 no cam. I've got my scene right here, right? So I'm going to right click and I'm going to do duplicate. This is the easiest way for us to create another player. We're going to modify it and then we're going to extend the class. I'm just going to call this tutorial slime. And if I double click this, it's going to open up the scene. So inside here, obviously you have your own player. You might have some of this, you might have none of this, but for the sake of what we're doing today, I'm just going to hide everything that we have just so that we can start on the same base. Everything's hidden. We're going to pretend like it's a blank canvas, and I'm just going to create a texture because that is going to be what defines our new player right here. And it's going to be character texture. I'll bring it all the way up. I'm going to look for the sprite sheet that I just created. I'm going to drag and drop this into the folder that I want. And I see that my asset is right here now. So I'm just going to go over, click this, select Atlas texture, expand the Atlas texture, and then I'm going to throw my sprite sheet in. And with that, we're going to get our character. So let me just select the slime. Sweet. Say the slime has different abilities, a different set of stats than my normal character, then I want to make sure that this is unique. And the way I'm going to do that with this class is I'm going to extend this player no cam class. So I'm going to right click right here and I'm going to extend the script. And it's going to be tutorial slime player. And I'm going to throw this inside my specific tutorial folder. And what it's going to look like is it's going to extend player no cam. And of course, we can give it a class name here as well, slime player. And so if you have different functions, you can define them all inside here, and they'll make it very specific to whatever the slime player is. Stats that are probably defined inside the base character, you probably want to go back to your player nocam, your base class. If you control click, then say if these were the only stats that I have for my character, you can probably use @export like this and change this to an export variable, where if you actually go and click this, you're going to see in the inspector that the variable gets exposed for you to change. So then if your slime player is different from your other mushroom player, which is different from your strange monster player, which is different from your trash can player, you can just change each of these individually and they will remain in this scene, be very specific to this. However, I do not need that, so that's how I would go about changing variables. And as to changing functions, we already talked about it. We're going to have to extend our base player class and create a specific player instance. Alright guys, I moved the slime up, used it as the character's head. I showed every other part of the cosmetics that I needed to. And now I'm going to duplicate this scene again and try to get the remaining characters done. So I'm just going to do Control D, and this is going to be tutorial monster. Okay. And then I'm going to do Control D right here, tutorial mushroom. And I'm going to do it one more time, tutorial, what? Tutorial trash player. Sweet. So then I'm going to go into the tutorial monster, change out the character texture, save that, close it out, go over to tutorial mushroom. That looks perfect. Close that out. Gonna go over to tutorial trash. And the only thing I'm gonna check now is making sure that these classes are what I want them to be. And I can already see that it's not. We're looking at this player v1 right now, and it's looking like this is the slime player, but it should be something else. So we're just gonna go back over and we're gonna throw the player v1 nocam back in, which will overwrite the script. And then I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna extend the script. This looks good to me. I'm gonna hit create, and then I'm gonna do class name, trash player. So I'm gonna go back over to the monster player and then the mushroom player. Gonna throw this in, right click, extend, create, class name, mushroom player. Go to the monster player now. Gonna do the same thing, extend the script. And now we are good to go. So now that the player has been created, let me look for my singleton. It's going to be my data singleton, but you guys can use whatever singleton that you guys have. So I'm just going to double click this, and at the very top, I'm just going to create something. Let's see, where do I need this? I'm just going to create right here. It's going to be test only delete, because I don't need this. And this is just for you guys. It's going to be var, and I'm going to do character select. And it's going to be an integer, but realistically, it could be anything. You guys could use a resource or whatever way you want to define what the actual selected character is. For my ease, I'm just going to use an integer because I think it's good enough, really. So let's just define what it's going to look like real quick. And of course, you guys can adapt it to whatever is best for you. I'm going to say 0 is slime, 1 is monster, 2 is mushroom, and 3 is trash. Okay. And I'm going to initialize this at -1, which is not anything. So now I'm going to go over to the character selection screen. And once this gets clicked, after transitioning is set to true, which means that we can't press another button that's in here, I'm going to go data.character select is going to be equal to 0. 1, 2, 3. So it looks like I got it all right. So the thing that we just did is we know that we have to transition between scenes, right? Which means that we have to save what we're actually selecting. So in this screen, we have selected something, and we're going to have to use that data in the next screen. So by using a singleton, we get to save it, for me, inside the data singleton, for you inside whatever singleton that you have, and then we're going to transition over. And the thought process is once we transition over, that's when we're going to use this information and then see which character we're going to load in. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to preload the scene straight into the scene that I have on hand. If you have a bunch of scenes, you can probably do this exact same structure inside your singleton and just reference it from there. You gotta choose something that's good for your use case. Maybe this is too slow for you, and then you're gonna have to figure out what optimization you're gonna have to use. But in my case, I have barely any scenes. This is not going to take any processing power. So I'm just going to preload it right here. It's going to be var slime player. It's going to be a packed scene. Var monster player packed scene. Var mushroom player packed scene. Var trash player packed scene. And I'm going to preload. It's going to be slime. Monster preload mushroom. Make sure you're selecting the scene, not the GD script. And finally, preload trash Damn, where is this guy? Oh man, we can't find it. Okay, so then we're gonna do it like this. Okay, cool. So we have linked, or we have at least preloaded each one of these, which means that we can instantiate these scenes. And so we're gonna go back down over to here. And what I'm gonna do inside the ready function is I'm going to match to figure out what player we have selected. Match data dot character select. And if it's 0, 1, 2, 3, we are going to throw in our character. Var new player of type, what is this? Player no cam. This is what it is. We have created a new variable, and then we're going to set this new player equals slime player dot instantiate. Sorry, this needs to be out here, right? Whoops, my bad. Okay, let's do this for all of them. New player. And this is all going to be this right here. It's going to be monster player. Because we have linked it or preloaded it, we can instantiate it just like this. Monster player, and it's going to be mushroom. And the last one is the trash player. And then what we're going to do is add child, new player. Very good, very good. So just recapping, we had to link these, or we had to preload each of these. So we have these scenes right here, and we are preloading them into this specific scene. So that means that this is something we have to do for each scene that we're going to do it. Or we can throw it up to a singleton, and then we can reference it using whatever singleton. And then what we're going to do is we're going to match the saved character select index and figure out which player we're going to instantiate. And once we have chosen a player to instantiate, we're going to add it as a child. Now, to make sure that this all works, I'm going to delete this player. And I'm just going to run this. No, I'm not going to run it. I'm going to go back over to the character selection screen and let's see what happens. All right. Let's try slime. Oof. Right on. So, okay. So we don't have player house anymore. This is unfortunate. But what we do have is when we load in, we set this new player and it's player no cam, right? So all we have to do is just this right here. Replace what we had before. just like this. Oh man, okay, we didn't spawn the character in the right spot. A bit of an issue. It's a bit of an issue, guys, okay? Let me see if I can fix that bug, but I think this does work. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Oh man. And just thinking about why it didn't work, why the character spawned right here, I forgot that the character loads in this position. And because we haven't set a position for the character, previously the character was right here. So the fact that it was spawning right here and we would have to walk down, that makes a lot of sense. If I wanted to use this logic, I would have to add another line of code right here to predetermine the position, make sure that the new player spawns in correctly. And so with this, we basically have everything. And it's kind of up to you on how you're going to use it at this point. I didn't quite realize that we didn't have to have a reference inside the code because we will be generating this right here that you can use. So that's very good. And you probably don't want to have it inside your function right here. If you just have it as a variable for the entire script, then you can use it in any of these functions and you'll be good to go. Hopefully that was pretty useful. I think it was a little bit more complex than usual, but let me know if you're super confused or not. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.